An argument?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay, what's the conclusion of your argument? Because I just want to see if what you're concluding is something I disagree with. So the conclusion of your argument is what?
Okay, hold on. Let me read.
Yeah, I just want the conclusion.
Yeah. Okay. You believe that there are exceptions where we can kill sentient life.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, sure. So there's no need to make an argument for that because I agree with that.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So then the question that I'm trying to know, in order for me to make more arguments that are not going to be invalid, is what are those exceptions?
Sure. There are a number of exceptions, but they broadly boil down to. Sorry, what?
Yeah, let's go through them.
Yeah, they broadly boil down, as a threshold deontologist, they boil broadly down to two things. Number one, committing certain rights violations, or if they are, if there's a context where they are infringing on the rights of others, and there is no pragmatic way of protecting those rights without killing them. So an easy example would be, self-defense. So, for example, if an animal is going to attack you and you don't have a pragmatic way of not killing it, and the only realistic way of doing so, of stopping it from killing you, is going to kill it, then yeah, I have no problem killing that animal.
Okay, so you'd say that's like number one.
Yeah, that's one example. Another example would be a type of Good Samaritan defense on behalf of other sentient beings that are not doing anything.
Okay, so kind of the same defense, but just from a third-person perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Which covers which I think covers a very large amount of the crop deaths of beings with non-trivial degrees of sentience, because most of them do have predatory behavior.
Right, like you mean like mouses killed during harvest?
Exactly. Like yeah. That's right.
I ask you something, just kind of sort of a different topic, but what you just said. Do you think then that makes an argument for why we should try not to do industrial harvesting practices, but instead return to more like simplistic measures in order to reduce those deaths?
No, it might be the argument for the reverse. It might be an argument that we should do more in industrial harvesting.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, you mean like it's a good thing to kill sentient beings for industrial harvesting?
Well, it might be. I'm agnostic on that, because it could be that we're reducing rights violations, and maybe we should be killing more. Maybe we should be upscaling.
So this is something I've heard recently, is like that I don't know, like I haven't watched enough videos that you guys make on it. Predator killings, like, do you think that it's a good thing to kill predators because they violate the rights of herbivorous animals?
Yeah, I do, in principle, yeah.
Okay. In principle. I'm curious about that then. What is your threshold for kind of like moral agency, to where, you know, like predators, they are predatory by compulsion, not by some like desire that they can control through reason?
Yeah, I don't care about that. Like, just similarly, if a human had a compulsion to kill other humans,
true,
and the only pragmatic way to stop it was to kill that human, like, the fact that the human has a compulsion and it's not an agent, they can't control it. Who cares? Like, you're just not going to let them just gobble everyone up.
Right, but like, for instance, like we keep cats, and like we could keep a cat on a vegan diet, then that'd be like preferable than just killing them.
Of course, like I said, if there's I'm not saying that it's again, I stipulated that the pragmatic way of doing it is to kill them. If that wasn't the case, sure.
Okay.
So that's another situation. Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. Now you got a third one?
Yeah, another situation is a situation in which the consequences vastly outscale the deontic rights violation. So I wouldn't kill one to save 5. I wouldn't kill one to save 10. All things equal, I wouldn't kill one to save 20. But at some threshold, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but at some threshold, I'd kill one to save 50,000 or 100,000, right?
Okay. So I might disagree with that because I feel like that scale becomes kind of irrelevant. Like if you could kill one to save 2, why wouldn't you do that?
Because it goes against my values. Because the weight of the deontic rights violation is not outscaled by the consequences on my view.
And that's because you're like a threshold
I'm a threshold
deontologist.
deontologist.
Well, could I ask you a bit about that then? Where do you kind of determine this threshold to where you believe that like the action of killing one person is so bad that killing one person to save 2 people would not be worth it? Like, for
Yeah, the
example, let me give you
threshold is determined. The threshold is trivially determined by comparing the value of the deontic rights violation to the value of the consequence.
I think I misunderstood what what the third point was then, because like you're saying like immense tragedy kind of befalling could be stopped by killing one person, but the person is not violating anybody else's rights.
No, it's violating one person's rights.
No, I mean like okay, so if I were to go and say like I'm gonna go out and kill somebody and like I have plans to do it and I'll go and kill them, you would say that like if there is no other way to stop me from killing a person, you would say that'd be okay to kill me because I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason for that is because that would prevent you from committing that deontic rights violation.
Right. Then within the context of this third example, you're saying basically like if somebody was like a walking nuclear bomb to where they're going to explode and kill very numerous people, then you wouldn't like
I'm
you
not
would
sure if
have.
I'd use that example because it could be. I'm not. I'd have to think if that's a rights violation. If killing people by exploding, but that's why I'd rather use the trolley problem. Where
like if somebody were to say like if they were like a bomb, like they this is like a hypothetical, but
the reason I get your hypothetical, you don't need to explain it again. The only reason the only reason I'm more agnostic on that is because I haven't thought of whether that situation is just a consequential concern versus a bunch of deontic rights violation in and of itself. Because that changes my answer. So that's why it's going to be more difficult for me to have a credence on that. But I can give you an easier hypothetical where I do, which is a situation like the trolley problem, where So in the trolley problem, I view the situation is such that the order of things are just going to be that trolley problem. The trolley was already on its way. It's just there, and it's going to run over 5 people, and you can kill one person to stop that. Now,
and that like I get your point. Okay.
Yeah, the difference is that there's 5. The 5 people are saved, and you're not saving them from a deontic rights violation. You're saving them from a bad consequence. See, you're a bad and the consequence is not a rights violation. The consequence is some just bad utility. You see the difference?
So you think though that the consequence of one person dying is less than the consequence of 5 people dying? If you have to take action, no, wait, let me finish. If you have to take action to prevent the 5 people from dying, you would think that the consequence of one person dying or 5 people dying without action would be preferable to the consequence of one person dying. By comparison,
it's not about action versus inaction here. It's just that unless action versus inaction is what's forming the rights violation, but I don't think that's what's happening here. The key difference is whether the concern on one hand is a rights violation or just utility. So on one hand, we have utility without any rights violation. And on the other hand, we have a rights violation.
No. Yeah. No, I've already acknowledged the difference between like a person who is willingly going to but like you say, like the trolley problem, one person's tied up and you could redirect the train to kill that one person instead of just letting the train plow through five.
Yeah.
So that's where you're saying
so
it's
in that case,
yeah.
So in that case, the reason I would not do that is because on one end, you have a rights violation. And on the other end, there are no rights violations. It's just a utility concern.
Okay. So it's a utility. So that does, to me, seem like it boils down to you saying that if you personally do something that kills somebody, it is worse than if you just let people die.
Well, that depends on when you say you do something that kills someone. That depends on whether the context of that forms a rights violation. So I may or may not agree with that, depending on that context.
So wait, would you feel like that you moving the trolley to kill that one person would be a rights violation?
Yes, so that I think it would. Yes, I think it would.
So like if you were considering saving those 5 people by killing that one person, you would have no problem with me killing you, essentially, is what we've kind of concluded from that.
Yeah, I mean, if you, again, like...
No, I get what you're saying. It's a little bit perplexing to me because...
Are you just saying that you find it you don't find it intuitive? Is that what you're saying?
I'd have to look up what do you think intuitive means. I have to look that up.
Well, I mean, I'm just not sure if you have an issue with what I'm saying. Like, it seems like you have an issue, but like it's clearly not a logical issue. It seems like you just find it unintuitive. What I'm saying. It seems like you find it.
Well, I guess I don't have an argument for it, but it does seem to be like my intuition is telling me that doesn't make sense because again, like I'm boiling it all down to you've kind of made a good case for it with saying like, well, by you moving this, you violate the rights of that one person. But then I could argue, that you're actually, by not taking action when you can take action, you're violating the rights of those 5 people because you are in control of that whole situation at that point. It's
so
not.
Let me ask you some questions.
Sure.
If that. Let's say there was. Are you okay with organ theft?
Organ theft, how so? Like a person dies and
no, not a person dies. No. They're alive. Yeah, they're alive. You want to take their organs by force, and it would cause their death. But you'd be able to save 5 people.
Okay, yeah, I see your point. That's a pretty good point about it. In the sense of like stealing organs. So that's kind of an interesting way of perceiving the trolley problem that I probably didn't think of. So now I'm trying to like kind of compartmentalize those two things into seeing like where they differ because in my mind, me going out and attacking somebody, killing them and stealing their organs is a definitive rights violation. But on the other side is let's take the trolley problem and turn it into a more realistic problem. Imagine you're driving your car and you're about to drive into 5 like school children, and on the side of the road is an old man, and that old man is just standing there on the side of the road with a cane. You have the option of trying to swerve out of the way of those 5 children, and you're basically going to always hit the old man if you do.
This analogy is that seems like you are going to seems like you're in the case. It's not like the natural situation is such that this person is going to die extrinsic to you. Separately from the case that you're bringing up right now, you're the one who's killing 5 versus you kill 1.
Right, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is from my perspective, that's the trolley.
But the big difference is that's not the trolley problem because the trolley problem. The point of the
trolley
problem.
Opinion. Explain to me why
it's not my opinion. It's just a fact because the
I mean, okay, if it's a
the
true
trolley
fact,
problem as presented is not what you're describing.
Then explain to me why that is.
The difference. I'm happy to explain. The difference is that in the case of the trolley problem, you have nothing to do with the state of affairs such that the trolley is going to run over the 5 people. Whereas in your case, you absolutely do have everything to do, or if not everything, many things to do with the state of affairs such that 5 people are going to be run over by you.
So can you then explain me the difference of why that is?
Wait, what?
Why is it different? Me driving a car into 5 people and deciding to turn and kill one versus me driving a trolley into 5 people versus
you're not driving the trolley into 5 people. Okay, so
if you're but wait, hold on. If you're in control of where the trolley goes, you are driving the trolley.
No, you're
that's how trains work.
No. You're not.
Explain to me that's not. How is that? Is that not how trains work?
That doesn't mean okay. By driving, okay.
You are in control. Driving is just a means of controlling a vehicle.
Stop. I'll happily explain it to you. Shut up. So, if in the case of the trolley problem, you're not driving it, and you didn't put the trolley in the situation where it's going to run over 5 people. Okay, that's not what you did. Whereas in the situation of the car, you did do that. You did bring the car in the situation. Stop.
Wait. So how didn't you?
Shut up. You did. How didn't you? Because that's just how it's stipulated in the hypothetical. You just haven't read the trolley problem, so you don't know that. But if you actually read it, you would see.
So you're you're just making so it's a hypothetical then. So it's not like a real trolley. It's an imaginary one. Yeah, and the rules are whatever you want.
Yes, the trolley problem is a hypothetical. That's correct.
Okay, so then the trolley problem, in my mind, runs into some problems when it comes to turning the hypothetical into reality, because now we're talking about.
Wait. When you say problem, what do you mean by a problem?
The problem is if a trolley is operated, it has an operator. Trolleys just don't go on their own. They are not mechanically fucking made.
Yeah,
just drive.
But why? And that's a problem. How so?
Because there always is an operator. Just like you said, the problem with me driving the car is that I'm operating the.
What kind of problem is it when you say there's a problem with that hypothetical? Do you think what's the problem?
There's not a problem with a hypothetical in the sense that it's abstract. No, listen. There's not a problem with a hypothetical in the sense of an abstract.
What do you think the purpose? What do you think the purpose of that hypothetical is?
I think the purpose is a teaching mechanism. That's what all hypotheticals are.
Yeah, the purpose is not to be real world. The purpose is to try and get, in fact, just the opposite.
Okay, and that's fine if you don't want to be real, but then let's put the trolley problem into some actual like common sense, real world hypothetical that could actually because all trolleys have operators.
The purpose of
the trolley hold on, let me finish. So if the trolley, I understand the purpose. I'm not going to let you ramble. The purpose. I'm not rambling. I'm trying to explain to you the difference between a hypothetical.
Whether you like it or not, I'm drawing out a difference.
If you want to talk, you're going to talk. It's your place.
Whether you like it or not, I'm drawing out a relevant difference between the trolley problem hypothetical and the example you gave. Whether you like it or not,
I understand it's not whether I like it or not.
Drawing out a difference.
Whether I like it or not.
You asked me what the difference was.
Okay, then explain to me the difference. Explain to me the difference. So now you're calling names.
I did. Okay. I did. Rightfully so.
Okay, because you're upset because you know you're wrong, but you don't want to admit it. It's okay. I understand. What the difference was?
I'll let you vent and get yourself out. You asked me what the difference was between the hypothetical of the trolley problem and the hypothetical you posed. Now, I provided you with the difference. The difference being that in the first case, you had nothing to do with the state of affairs such that it was going to form the killing of 5 people. In the other case, you did. Now, in response to that, your response was that it wasn't real world. Now, whether it's real world or not, that's irrelevant from the fact that there really is a relevant difference between the hypothetical and the situation you provided. So you responding by saying it's not real world. You responding by saying it's not real doesn't address the fact that there is.
So wait, whether or not organ theft is real world doesn't matter. It's a hypothetical, correct?
I'm giving it to you in the form of a hypothetical. I'm giving everything I've given to you was in the form of a hypothetical.
Okay, so then why would you have to interpret the trolley problem with organ theft? Why does that have to be interpreted? Why even make that differentiation if it's all hypothetical?
Wait, I'm sorry. What? What's the question?
Exactly. You don't understand the difference between reality and your delusions.
Can you repeat the question? Just repeat the question. Okay, I didn't understand what your question was.
What is the difference? Why would you ever separate into multiple hypotheticals the same hypothetical? If the hypothetical is that 5 or 1 die, why is it that you are sitting here trying to talk about organ theft or trolleys?
Yeah,
If
the
the
reason,
if
yeah,
the
no,
actual
I can answer that. Yeah, so the reason for that is I think that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to test your consistency. So I think that if you have this position where it's just 1-to-1, like this pure utilitarian position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to test your consistency on it, and I'm going to present different hypotheticals to see if your answer is consistent. And if you're not, I'm going to derive a contradiction.
Okay, but can I talk to you about like reality and mathematics and how they differentiate? So when we're
You
talking
can
about a
talk to me.
hypothetical,
Listen, you can talk to me about whatever you want. I'm just answering the questions you gave me. So you asked me a question,
sure,
and I've
and
given you an answer.
I'm trying to explain to you though the difference between real world things and hypotheticals. I understand that you're trying to test my consistency. If it is a mathematical problem, then no matter the situation that I would be put in, the math is still the same.
Okay, so
But
just to be clear, are you okay with organ theft?
if it is a mathematical hypothetical and it doesn't matter about the actual real world consequences, then it doesn't matter about the actual real world consequences. Can you understand?
How about it? I'll appreciate it. How about we answer the question? So, are you okay with organ theft?
I just answered the question verbatim.
No, you gave a conditional.
You
gave a conditional. So here's
okay. Explain to me that then. Why is it a conditional?
Yeah. So you said if this doesn't matter in the real world, then it doesn't matter in the real world, is what your answer was. Now that doesn't answer my question of me asking you, are you okay with organ theft? So I'll repeat the question since you haven't asked.
I am okay with hypothetical organ theft. Yes, because hypothetically means it's not real.
Clear. Okay, so
I'm okay with you killing a million billion people too on a video game because it's not real.
Okay. So just to be clear, so you are okay with taking someone hypothetically and tying them up and chop and just slicing open their body and taking their heart, their eyeballs.
Hypothetically, I wouldn't care if it happened to me because it's a hypothetical. It's not real. Hypothetically, you could beat me to death. So I wouldn't care.
Okay, so the purpose of these hypotheticals
is to establish consistency. You already said this.
Yeah, it's to test what. Yeah, exactly. It's to test what you're saying. Now, let me just ask you this. Let's say in the real world, quote unquote.
Okay, sure.
That someone was going to take someone's organs to save 5 people.
Yeah, no. In the real world, I wouldn't. And in the real world, trolleys have operated. So then you've broken the trolley problem again by creating reality.
Wait. So then you don't. Then you don't have a 1-to-1 value. Then it's not just a pure utilitarian value. As long as the situation obtained in the actual world, you are not a utilitarian.
Okay, I don't know how you came to that conclusion, and I never even claimed to be a utilitarian.
Sure, because the reason I came to that conclusion is, okay, just to be clear, in the real world, assuming that it would increase utility, all else equal, would you be okay with organ theft?
So you are going out in the real world. Let me explain the situation to you because I have a problem with, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't think you understand how the real world works, Avi. So in the real world, you would have to intentionally set up a surgeon's operating table. You would have to get people in a gang to go out and literally steal people, 5 or 6, a single person you'd go out and steal, and you have to have multiple people, 5 people lined up ready for those donations. Then you would literally carve this person up in front of these people and do that. That is, in the real world, very different from you operating a trolley and deciding whether or not to kill 5 people or 1 people.
Okay, can we get an answer to the question? So are you okay with organ theft in that situation if it would increase utility in the real world?
No, but then again, I don't understand.
You're not a utilitarian. Then you're not a utilitarian.
I never said I was.
Okay, cool. So I'm just establishing that you're not. Okay, great. So given that you're not, it seems like it. Yeah. So now let me ask you another question. Let's say it would save 1 million people in the real world.
To kill 1 person?
Yeah. Say it would save 1 million
people. Organs, or just
let's just say say it would save 1 million people.
Hold on. Is this a hypothetical?
What? Let's just say it's, I'm positing to you a conditional, and I can just say, okay, let's say it would happen in the real world. Say
Okay, so
you
in
just
the
had
real
some
world,
crazy person who would just who would kill 1 million people or whatnot. If
okay, well,
they didn't,
that goes back to your
if
first
organ theft
exception.
didn't happen. What?
Okay, so that goes back to your first exception of rights violations.
Okay, so let's say if you didn't kill this person, they would spread a plague would develop from them and naturally. Like we can alternate the scenario, but the point.
So you're saying like 1 million people would die if this one person doesn't die due to a plague.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what other alternatives are there? The only way is murder.
Only is to kill him. Just to kill him. Yeah.
It's that serious of a contagion?
It's that serious of a contagion.
Well, I feel like before we even actually do this, we should seek to establish a dialogue with that person and explain to them what's going on.
They don't want to die. Yeah, they don't want to die.
They
understand the situation, and they don't want to. They understand the situation. They don't want to die. Is it okay to kill them?
We have 100% definitive proof that 1 million people will die due to that.
That's right. We do.
Yeah, then that does make sense rationally.
Okay, so you have a threshold too. Then, okay, it's not just me. So you also have some threshold.
Well, I think also though my threshold is separate than you. I never said that I
didn't say you have an identical threshold. I didn't say you have an identical threshold than I do. But you do have some threshold. Like you didn't do it for 5. You did do it for 1 million. You have some threshold between the two, presumably.
Well, then let's talk about this.
Do you disagree? Wait, but do you disagree with that? You agree or disagree with that?
No, I agree. That sounds to be true.
Cool.
So
cool. So do you have any other questions? So now that we established that it's not so crazy to have the threshold, do you think?
No, I never said it was.
Okay, cool. So do you have anything else you want to ask me?
So 2-to-1 ratio. Let's say that because we've gone from 10 to million. You said like the whole question was like this is your third exception, by the way. So that's why I was talking to you about this because you said consequences have to have a threshold that outweighs.
Yeah, and we both. It seems like we both have a threshold view on where the third exception is formed.
Right.
It's somewhere in both of our cases. It's somewhere between 5 and 1 million.
No, I never said that.
Well, that actually it is because I gave you a hypothetical in which 5 people.
Okay. Did you give me a hypothetical in which 2 people? Did you give me a hypothetical in which 1.5 people?
Wait.
You only gave me that one. hypothetical.
Okay. You're right. You may be particular. Are you a particularist?
No, I don't know what that is.
It would be a reduction, but what so the reason I'm assuming it's between 5 and 1 million is because I asked you if you would do it to save 5. You said no, and I asked you if you would do it to save 1 million. You said yes. And the reason I'm assuming
say that? You talk about organ theft, which is a violation of rights.
I said killing a person. Presumably, killing a person is a right.
Killing an individual who is going to spread a pathogen.
Okay, so let's just
it's not to save somebody.
To
save people lives who are already dying.
That's fine. Let's say that this person developed just a whole bunch of organs. This person was an individual who was going to just grow organ after organ after organ. He had some stem cells who was just going to grow organ after organ after organ.
Sure,
and it would save 1 million. Yeah, and it would save 1 million people.
So let me then ask you some more questions because this is a real world person. How is their level of well-being if they have this? Like, what is it? Just like a constant regeneration after they die? Like
the same well-being of the average person.
So like just a normal person who's living their life and is going like, okay, well, I could, I could go through the rest of my life and nothing abnormal would happen. But if they die, then you'll get to harvest 1 million hearts and 1 million eyes and 1 million blah, blah, blah. No, I wouldn't think that's okay because this individual did nothing to harm anybody and is not going to harm anybody.
Then, all right, I see. So then you seem to be more of a pure deontologist.
Sure.
So, I think that. So then that would be, we do have a difference in view. So, that's fine. So you would be a pure deontologist and more of a pure deontologist in this case, whereas I would be a threshold deontologist. I would have some consequential concern, and at some point the consequences would override. So that would be a different view.
So I think that
So let me ask you. Wait, hold on.
should,
Let me ask you
sure.
this. But now we have a problem with your view. At least I have a
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Because now let's say that there would be an infinite. Let's say he just keeps growing forever. Like there's billions or trillions of people that can be saved, and they would just be tortured to death. If they weren't, they would just die torturous deaths. Now are you okay with killing it?
Okay, like in this example, you're talking about like don't think I'm a religious or nothing, but you're basically talking about like Jesus.
What?
Like
I'm not talking about Jesus.
no, I mean like okay, everybody like this is the Christian religious worldview. If everybody was going to die and suffer and go to like hell for eternity, Jesus then died on the cross a horrible death and suffered for
I
us.
I don't know where Jesus is.
No, that's what you're describing.
Like no, it's not. What I described was a person who is just growing infinite organs, and it just so happens to be that there is a situation such that everyone's organs are failing, and the amount of people who that's organs are failing are vastly like just span across the universe. Like there's just these infinite amounts of people, or just like endless people, are just going to die these torturous deaths. And this person is just growing infinite organs. Now, is it okay to harvest this person's organs? Or would you side with the infinite natural torture?
Give me a minute to think about that, because there's something. Let me kind of pose a bit of a question to you as well. Do you think that, like, within the bounds of this hypothetical, you're basically establishing something that is so far out in the context of reality? It's like, if you could kill one person to save the world, to save the universe, to save everyone, would you? Like, that's essentially reduced this question. Would you kind of agree? Like,
what do you ask? I'm not understanding the question. Are you saying is it unlikely to happen?
No, not exactly. I mean, like,
are you saying it's impossible to happen?
Possible. I think that like you could kind of use this example to say that everybody's a threshold deontologist, because when you frame it in a way,
what do you ask?
Well, when you're because this is the thing that I think threshold deontologists don't understand.
Okay, this sounds like more of a statement than a question. Do you have a question?
Oh no. I'm kind of answering your question. My bad. So
okay, so the answer. So if you're going to answer my question, here's what I'd appreciate you do. Okay. The answer first comes in the form of a yes or a no, and then the ramble comes after, not the other way around. So start with the yes or no, then you can ramble, not the ramble first.
Okay, let me ask a question. In this situation, how am I supposed to kill this person? What am I one of the people who is eternally suffering?
You let's just say, for the sake of the argument, you are not one of the people who's eternally suffering.
And are there others like myself who are not eternally suffering?
Yes, you can have a friend as well, if you
just
like.
One friend? I can't have an entire world of people that like.
You can have a world of people if you like as well. Okay, however, there are infinite people who are going to be tortured to death naturally.
Outside of my little bubble of reality, there's infinite suffering going on in the world.
Well, no. It's wait.
No, I get that. It's all real. Yeah. But outside of my little bubble of perception where I exist, there's infinite suffering going on. And then there's this magical man that if I sacrifice will stop all the suffering outside there, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so it sounds to me like, I couldn't answer that question because I'm a human being. And like, if I were to say no, then I would be condemning. Yeah, if I were to say no.
Wait. What about being a human being prevents you from answering that question?
Because if I were to say no, I would be literally condemning. I'd say, yes, I have to accept that there's infinite billion people out here suffering and that I need to kill a fellow human being who's just living on this world with me. But if I kill him and sacrifice his life, all of these people will be spared. And if I say yes, then I'll get to spare all these people.
So are you agnostic?
No, I guess that'd be an agnostic answer. But here, let me clarify a bit more, because this is not a hypothetical; it's reality.
Wait. Hold on. Wait. Here, like, before we go on the ramble, here are some answers that you can give that would be acceptable. You can answer yes, I do think this is the right thing to do. You can answer no, I don't think this is the right thing to do. You can answer I'm not sure what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, I would say, well, I'd like to ask a bit more questions before I say I'm not sure, because what if I'm like, what if in this situation I'm like Captain America, I'm the superhero who makes the deciding factor.
Sorry, don't assume that nothing that is if I didn't specify anything in the hypothetical and it's not entailed from the hypothetical, it's not there.
Okay, so we've gone to the establishment that I'm a normal human being living on Earth, and somewhere on Earth there's a person that if I kill him, I will end the suffering of infinite beings.
Yeah.
Then I would say, being a normal human being, I couldn't make that decision because I wouldn't normally kill somebody.
You would be, so you would be. So are you not sure? Do you think it's? I'm not asking you if you would do it.
No, I wouldn't do it.
If you think the right thing. I'm asking you if you think it would be the right.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do it. Given the framing of the hypothetical,
just listen to the question. Just listen to the question.
Sure.
I'm asking you if you think it would be the right thing to do.
No.
Notice how that's different. Notice how that's different from asking if you would do it.
If I would do it. Okay, so
I'm asking. What I'm asking you is if you think it would be the right thing to do.
I almost feel like this would be a good place to end this and just give me some time to think on that, because that's a very deep thing to think about, and I might like whether or not that is right, because given the context of the hypothetical, if I'm like just a normal person living my life and I have to decide between killing a person and to save infinite people that given the context of the hypothetical, it sounds like I would be agnostic of whether these people really exist because they're outside of my world. They're outside of my.
Sorry, that's not. It was specified in the hypothetical that they do exist. So that's just not engaging with the hypothetical. Try again.
Okay, so they do exist, and I know they exist, and I'm confident that they exist.
That's right. That's what was specified in the example.
Oh, this is a hypothetical. It's not a real world example.
Oh, okay. So you realize I can always get around that by just say the hypothetical is real.
Okay, then
if you woke up tomorrow and the hypothetical was real, which would mean that tomorrow you would be confident that it was real and you would be confident that they would exist.
Right, so and then I need you got to give me some more time to you got to give me some more time to prepare to wrap my mind around that, because if this is real and like there's infinite amounts of people out there suffering right now, and I know for a fact that my best friend Dan or just some random guy named Joe down the street is indirectly the one causing their suffering, because his life, just normally living it, ending his life would make all these people live a better life. And I assume that they're all begging for me to kill Joe because I know that they're real. So that would be the way I'd know about it, is them begging and pleading for me to kill Joe because Joe is causing them to suffer.
Well, that's not necessarily the way you know about it. It could just be that, it could be a whole bunch of different ways you could know about it. Who knows? But the point is that you do know about it, right? So again, it's just that's the situation at hand, and the question is, do you think it's the right thing to do to kill that person?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, no, that is a lot to put on a man. So because you're taking a hypothetical and saying, but it's a real thing. So then it's kind of like, well, then I really, that's like, can you wrap your brain? Avi, can answer
there something when you say you have problems wrapping your brain around it? Is there something you don't understand about it?
No, I get it, but knowledge and the feeling of intuitive knowledge is very different than the feeling of
so if you understand it, now that we've established you understand what's being asked, do you have an answer?
Could I look? I will answer, but I really want to know, what is your answer first?
My answer is yes, I would. Of course, I would. 100%. Do you have an answer?
That's because you're a threshold deontologist.
That's right.
Could I ask them?
Do you have an answer?
Not yet. What is your reasoning for why you would do that?
Okay. So, well, that's my values. I mean, it's just going to boil down to what my values are. But so the issue I have now is if someone is posed with a situation like that and they are unsure of whether it is the right thing to do or not to kill one person to save infinite torture, infinite people from just dying this tortuous death, I consider that a problem, right? I consider that abhorrent, actually, that someone would be agnostic about that. It's like someone being agnostic about saving the really just multiverses of planets, of people. It's just insane.
Wait, hold on. Do you believe that the multiverse exists?
It doesn't matter whether it's. I'm just speaking in a hyperbole. It doesn't matter if the fucking multiverse exists. Don't be fucking stupid. Look.
Okay, yeah, I'm being
stupid.
stupid.
You get the point, right? The point is just that when you're faced with infinite amounts of people that are going to be tortured to death, and you're unsure if you should stop that, if it would be the right thing to stop infinite people from dying these tortuous deaths at the cost of one person, that I consider to be a reduction.
Well, that makes me think about it, like, because when you're kind of like swaying it into my brain as in like this reality context with like propaganda, like every day it's in my face, the torturing millions, and then I see Joe over there just living his life, mowing the grass. That's very, very fucking, just it's like kind of being sliced between like two worlds.
Every one of those infinite people are a Joe too. Every one of those, they're their own individuals.
Potential Joe. Right, a potential Joe.
And everything, yeah.
They're not actually Joe yet.
Well, right? No. In the example I gave you, they are existing.
Well, they're existing, but they're not mowing the lawn, living the life.
The point is that they're individuals too.
Fine, I'm laughing. It's funny.
They are.
I thought this was supposed to be a respectful debate, not somebody stopping.
Chill. Sorry, my girlfriend is like getting up in arms, but hold on, chill. So. You're saying like they are going about their normal lives.
I'll handle debating him. Okay, you don't need to help me. All right, listen.
So what was I saying? Oh yeah, okay. So you said that they are like the average Joe. They're going along mowing the lawn too. Like, okay, so let me kind of make it a little bit more of a real world imaginary, because I don't need to have like this infinite put in front of me. But imagine there's like 10 people on my street, and Joe Schmo with the lawnmower is going down the hill and he's mowing his lawn. And my only way of stopping Joe Schmo's reign of terror from the other 10 people on the street who are also just living their life and they're all going through so much suffering.
Can I ask you a better question?
Kill Joe Schmo. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let's say we have your girlfriend, and there were an infinite amount of your girlfriend. Right?
Infinite amount.
Yeah. Let's say there's an infinite amount of your girlfriends. And and then there's Joe Schmo, and your infinite amount of girlfriends need all these infinite organs. Joe Schmo is going to grow all these infinite organs, and save your infinite girlfriend. Now, what do you think is the right thing to do? Do you think killing Joe Schmo?
I wouldn't kill Joe to save my girlfriend. That's crazy.
No. I didn't say just one of your girlfriends. No. Just your girlfriend. There's an infinite amount.
I have to be like all the possible women in the world that I could ever make love to or ever be in a relationship.
It's your girlfriend just cloned over and over. It's just like like a whole bunch of
yeah.
Like what's
happens all the time. Real world example.
Yeah.
All right. I probably wouldn't.
No. You wouldn't. Okay. Wait. Can we get your girl? I'm just curious. Could we get your girlfriend on? Can you bring her here?
Would you do that for me, babe? Would you kill Joe Schmo to save
Wait. Yeah, to infinity, yeah.
And kind be killed. Thank you.
What did she say?
You heard it from her.
What'd she say?
She said she'd rather all mankind die than Joe Schmo die.
Than Joe Schmo. Wait. She must really like Joe Schmo.
She just would never ever kill an entity. That's her belief.
So she would not. So she wouldn't save. So she would, even if it was like millions of people, millions of you would die if she didn't kill an entity.
Story.
Well, that's her beliefs, man. I mean, I don't know. It's her beliefs.
Okay, I mean, hey, at least you'd watch each other get tortured to death. Hey, like at least that's one thing you got in common. You deserve each other.
A couple goals.
A couple goals right there. You would let infinite amounts of each other get tortured to death.
It's epic. All right. But no, I feel like, when you frame it in kind of an example like that,
wait, is this?
It does feel like the answer is no.
Is this like real? Is like would you actually just try to imagine this? Like, if there was like an infinite amount of you and an infinite amount of her, you wouldn't save infinite amounts of each other for one person.
No. Yeah, it'd be wrong.
Even if it meant like infinite, even if it meant like infinite amounts of you would just be tortured to death.
They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. You know, it's not their fault.
Wait, what do you mean they wouldn't know?
It's not. I mean, you said it's not a violation of rights. They're just living their life trying to exist, and then I come along. Yeah. You've killed my people. Like, no, that's it's fuck. That is like hunting. That is like hunting. I feel like that.
Yeah, but the point, yeah, right. So the issue, the question, yeah. So the question is like, does a rights violation carry infinite moral value? And it's because it seems like there's like no or rather the question is there any amount of utility that can outscale the value of a single rights violation? And the reason I'm posing this hypothetical, to you,
because you're a threshold psychologist.
And I'm trying to figure out if, on your view, there's any amount of utility that can outscale the value of a rights violation.
Didn't I already say though that like in the context
the answer is
like,
there is none. Is the answer that there is none?
Your answer for me though. But
wait, is the answer that there is none?
You would do in this situation.
What do you mean? I'm confused. Like,
I'll answer your girlfriend's question. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what I would do in the situation. Yeah, if I had infinite of my girlfriends, and there was one person, and they were going to get tortured to death versus Joe Schmo. Guess what I would do? I would save the infinite girlfriend. Okay, I would save the lives of those infinite girlfriends from getting tortured to fucking death because I'm not a fucking piece of shit. Okay.
Well, when you think about it this way, though, when you think about it that way, kind of like imagine this. So,
what a sick person could you imagine letting an infinite amount of people get fucking tortured to death because they think one rights violation has infinite value?
Yeah, me probably, but no, hold on. So, okay. Not me, because I'm a different person than the person that you've deluded yourself to believe that I am. So, let's just say this.
I'm not deluding myself to anything. No, wait a minute. I'm just going by what you're telling me.
No, you're not, because you're leading the argument into ways that you could kind of say what I'm saying when I'm not even getting a chance to answer the questions.
No,
so let me answer the question.
You answered it already. What do you mean? You've said there isn't any. What are you talking about?
So hold on. So let me just say this much. There is a difference between a person who would be sitting there having like an amount of well-being from living their life normally versus the amount of well-being lost from a person who, so this is utilitarianism. This is not like threshold deontology at this point, because if somebody is just going to get to live their life normally, and if that is not the case, and if they get to live their life normally, then somebody has to get tortured to death. You know, if it doesn't have to be an infinite number, like if it's just one person who would have to get tortured every single day of the rest of their life because Joe Schmo gets to live their life, I think that, I probably would kill Joe Schmo to save that one person from torture, because I understand that torture is a lot worse than death.
Okay, wait a minute, but let's say they all die a torturous death.
It's nothing about a rights violation. This is your moral views. This is your exceptions, not mine. I don't give a fuck about rights. Rights are just an imaginary concept that people make up, Avi. They're not real.
Okay, wait. When I say rights, I'm not saying there's some ontologic, mental mind external thing. It's just a construct to represent my values.
They're just a what?
It's a construct that is used. It's an instrumental construct to represent my values.
Can I ask you this question? Like, honestly, do you think stealing is a rights violation?
I do.
Okay, so where do you get off thinking that you could even own property? That's not a fucking possibility.
Why? Wait, what's
it is a social construct, Avi. Avi, you don't understand basic fucking social constructs, and you're sitting here trying to argue with me if you understand this shit.
What's the contradiction? What's the contradiction?
Avi,
you say it's
you cannot own things. Well,
you say it's impossible. You say it's impossible to own something. Do you mean it's logically impossible?
Yes, it's logically impossible because you understand without violating other people's rights.
What's the contradiction? So what's the contradiction? What's the contradiction that's entailed?
All right.
Why are you telling your girlfriend? I know. Hey, you actually should go away, girlfriend. He's gonna let you die for Joe Schmo. Okay, leave him alone.
Okay. Well, I don't care. That's my choice to sacrifice myself.
Okay, go sacrifice yourself. Right now, he's sacrificing himself for me. Okay, because he said something. Okay, well, just give me a little bit more with him. All right, and then he can go back to you after he lets you get Dr. Joshua. All right.
I'll settle down. I'll turn the volume down a bit.
Okay.
So,
All
right.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So,
let me just explain my point
what's
of view.
the contradiction? So then my question is, what's the contradiction that's entailed by someone owning something?
Okay, so you think that people have human rights, right?
So what's the So what's the wait? That wasn't an answer to my question. You said it's logically impossible for someone to own something.
I'm asking a question that will
so
give me the context.
Well, no, I
shouldn't.
I don't need you to answer. I don't care if you're asking a question. You made the claim that it's impossible for someone to own something. So what I would like
it is because again, without a social construct, that was the claim. You missed. All right, hold on.
So
calm down. Without the claim,
what's the contradiction?
Okay, you've taken the claim out of context.
What's the claim?
The claim is you have no right to own something without infringing on another person's rights or a social construct or a social contract, which already infringes on people's rights.
Do you think it's impossible to own something? You said it was impossible, though.
Without a social construct, it is impossible to own something.
Okay, without a social construct, it is impossible to own something. Is it logically impossible?
Cats own things?
Wait,
no.
Wait, hold on.
Cats own things?
Wait. You said without a social construct, it is impossible to own something. Is that a logical impossibility?
I wouldn't be able to answer that because I don't really know if that's the correct wordage, but it is an impossibility to own things.
What modality? Okay, what modality do you mean when you say it's impossible? What do you mean when you say it's impossible?
So, do you know what a social construct is?
That doesn't answer my question. When you say it's impossible, what do you mean?
All right, I'm looking up logical impossibility because that's what we're talking about, right? Statement involving contradiction or absurdity. Okay, no, I wouldn't say it's a logical impossibility because it's not exactly.
So what type of what do you mean when you say it's impossible? What modality? Is it a physical impossibility?
Yeah, it's a physical impossibility.
What law of nature? What law of nature is violated by someone owning something without a social construct?
Okay.
What law of nature? Is it the law of physics? What law of physics is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so which law of physics?
No, I got a great example.
Oh my god, no you don't.
What? Wait,
write it down.
I just want to hear which law of physics it is.
Well, it's not a law of physics. It's a physical impossibility.
Okay, what law of nature is it?
Great. So it is the law of nature that
what law?
When things are not within use by a person, they are no longer in use by that person. Ownership exists within social.
Okay, I didn't hear the name society. Of the law. So what's the name of the law of nature?
Okay, maybe I'm wrong about that then. I don't know because you're asking me questions and you're asking
you said it was physically impossible.
You're asking, Avi, you keep asking me loaded questions, so you're derailing what I'm trying to tell you.
Wait, do you know what a loaded question is?
Yeah, it's a question with an initial assumption. You've asked, is it a physical impossibility? Is it this? Is it that? Why are you asking me?
That's not a question with an assumption. Wait, how is that a loaded question? I just asked you.
Because you're assuming that it is within this sphere of is it a physical impossibility? I never stated that it was a physical impossibility.
You actually did. I asked you if it was. You said, wait. That's dishonest. I asked you if it was a physical impossibility. You said yes.
Exactly. I didn't say it's a physical impossibility until you asked me that.
Yeah, great. But you said yes. I'm just trying to get clarity what kind of impossibility you're talking
asking
about.
Questions and let me explain the point.
Yeah, so now that you said it's physically impossible, what I want to know is
I'm not saying I take that back because again, you asked a loaded question and I answered.
Okay, cool, that's fine. Listen, you can take it back. Then what do you mean when you say it's impossible? Is it a logical or a physical possibility? If not, what do you mean?
Stop asking the questions and I will explain.
Okay, what do you mean when you say it's
construct to own property? Do you understand that? Yes or no?
I mean, I don't. I lean towards that view, but I don't have a hard commitment. I don't have a. I don't think it's impossible for that not to be.
Right.
See the difference? Like, I'm not saying that. Like, if it turned out that I was wrong about
cats own things.
I don't think cats own things. However, I'm not claiming that it's impossible for a cat to own something.
And how do we enforce ownership?
That's just an episode. Jesus, like that's just a pragmatic question. Again,
no, it's not.
I want to know. I want to know what you mean.
Basing your logical system on initial assumptions that you're not proving.
I'd like you to answer. What the fuck are you talking about?
You're basing your initial. You're basing your logic. Your whatever it is called. I'm kind of losing my train of thought because you keep talking. You're basing your conclusions on initial assumptions that you're refusing to prove.
What conclusions?
You just got upset.
What conclusions?
You are saying to me that property is a right, therefore stealing is a rights violation.
And by right, yeah, and by right, I just mean a con. I just mean, so that's a false by right, I just mean. Wait! You didn't understand what my claim is. By right, sure. That's just an instrumental construct that represents my value. So it means I have a strong attitude in favor of that being having certain dominion over a given property. Now, if you say that's a false claim, you claim that you would just be claiming to be in my mind, or either like have some knowledge of my mind somehow, just to know, or to know that it's like not the case that I have this attitude.
For survival.
Okay, so is it stealing wrong when it's a poor homeless person?
So just to be clear, it's not. To go back to the question you haven't answered. When you say it's impossible, what do you mean?
I said it's impossible to own property without a social construct. You have to understand.
Okay, and what does impossible mean? Because I asked you if it was logically impossible. You didn't.
Silly. I'll describe what a social construct is.
No, I want to know what impossible means.
Yeah, I know, because you're trying not to learn.
I asked you if it was
social construct is something that exists, not an objective reality, but as a result of
I didn't ask you what a social construct.
Sure, let's look up what impossible means.
I asked you what impossible meant. And the reason I
not able to occur or be done, and that's exactly what I said. It is impossible to own property
on what modality? Is it unable to be done on a logical modality? You already answered that one.
All right, so now I got to go and look at what logical modality means, because you want to ask me these questions that are loaded.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
I don't know modality. I've given you a perfect definition
based on the answers you've given me. I don't know what you mean when you say that. It's impossible.
I really feel like this is sophistry, dude. Again, I said it's impossible to own
just you not answering the question.
Human interaction. Because you're asking loading questions. What is impossible about it?
What is impossible? What do you mean? That's not the question either. What do you mean? What do you mean when you say it's impossible?
What I mean is that it is impossible. Like the word impossible, the definition of impossible.
That's a circular. Okay, so that's actually a regressive definition. So if you define impossible by being,
what is a progressive definition of impossible?
Yeah, like it's a recurring. So it's when there's an infinite regress where each iteration of the recursivity doesn't gain any closer to solving the problem. The problem here being clarity on what the word means.
Based on your definition of what the word means, it's not possible. No,
I'm asking based on your view if it's impossible. Now you said it was. Are you taking that back?
With what you mean by the word impossible? So
I'm trying to get clarity on what you mean by it.
I just told you the definition of impossible is you cannot do something. I said,
and what's the can? What do you think the can mean is? What's the can mean? What modality is the can mean? That's just possibility alone.
Okay, so what does can mean? Let's look that up.
Well, the point is that can is a possibility nomenclature. So can could also, just like the word possible, can could have a logical modality. It can have a physical modality.
Okay, can, based on it, is this a good enough definition of can? To be able to. Is that a good definition?
What is to be? That's also possibility nomenclature. Again, to be able to means it could be possibility. You can be able. Something can be able to take place logically. It can be able to take place physically. That's just the same. It's just going to be subject to the same modality questions I was asking you in the first place.
Hold on. Okay, so look, you said a possibility nomenclature. Let me look up what this means. The non-central. All right, I can't even find a definition of possibility.
Go look up logical modality and physical modality if you'd like.
Okay, logical modality.
Probably better for you looking it up, because if I explain it to you, you probably would interrupt me before. it.
Modal logic, collection of formal systems originally developed to represent statements about necessity and possibility. The basic unary model operators are often interpreted as necessarily or for possibly. Okay, so what you're saying is that every word falls into something as either necessarily or possibly, or am I completely misinterpreting?
So I'll try to I'll explain it. So words like possible or can or able to be, those have different meanings depending on what modality they're operating. There are different modalities that all of these words can be operated. So one modality is logical, the logical modality. And what that means is that all of those things do not entail a contradiction, that they're coherent, they mean something, and they don't contain a contradiction. So if that's the case, then it can logically be, it is logically possible. Another modality that all of these words, whether it's possible or can or able to be, is a physical modality. And what that means is it doesn't violate any of the laws of nature. So something can be physically impossible, but logically possible. Something can be both physically impossible and logically impossible.
Okay, yo, my girlfriend is like making it impossible for me to hear you. She wants me to really ask this question.
Wait,
so
when you say impossible, she's making it impossible to hear. Do you mean that it's a logical possibility, or do you mean that she's making it impossible for you to hear me in a physical modality?
Oh, okay, all right. That's it. Okay, so then I guess a physical modality because I can't physically hear you.
Okay, what law of nature is violated by you not being able to physically hear me? Seems interesting that it's impossible because you're responding to me. But
no, well, she stopped talking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's possible. It's possible for you to hear me because the physical solution, would be for her to stop talking.
Okay. So, all right. So there's logic, which bases on logical modalities and physical modalities, what you're saying.
Yeah, there are logical modalities and physical modalities. And if you mean something else, then I don't know what you mean, and I have to clarify. I need to get clarity.
Okay, so you're asking, is it a physical impossibility or a logical impossibility? Okay.
Like a mediator.
And then you're going to ask me about the law of nature. Well, that is
it depends. It depends. If you say it's a logical impossibility, I'm going to ask you for what the contradiction is. If you say it's a physical impossibility, I'm going to ask you what law of nature is violated.
Okay. Well, let's kind of like then discuss both. So if it were a logical possibility,
impossibility,
it would be right. It would require contradiction, and the contradiction may be, I'm not certain of this, that you would have to enforce those laws by violating other people's rights of like such things as like the right to bodily autonomy, the right to not being killed, the right
so that's
to...
not a contradiction. Do you know what a contradiction is?
Okay, sure.
A contradiction is a proposition and its negation. So if you want to say that the contradiction would be, the continuation of that should be, here's the first proposition, followed by here's the second proposition. And they should take the form of P and not.
Sure.
So what would the contradiction be?
Hold on. Can I just ask this question because she keeps bugging me?
Yeah, didn't we go over this yesterday?
What?
We went over this yesterday, what a contradiction is. So I know I explained to you what a contradiction is yesterday.
Well,
I
still don't really understand it because again, it's like you're talking about like logic in like some more formal context than what I'm used to hearing it in.
Okay, so that's fine. So then I'll explain it to you just like I explained it to you yesterday. So what it means to be a contradiction is it means that there's a proposition and negation in conjunction. So that takes the form of of P and not P. So if you say the contradiction is, you need to be able to say, the remainder of that sentence should be a proposition and another proposition that is the negation of the former proposition. And if it's anything else, that's not a contradiction.
Okay. So, all right, yeah, and I haven't ruled. So, what my claim was that it's a physical impossibility to own things, and
Well, you are going on logical now, so you're going off.
Yeah, but I'd like to discuss the logical part because I feel it is both logically and physically impossible.
Okay, so let's go one by one.
Yeah.
So logical, what's the contradiction? Contradiction is what?
Right. So that's what I was trying to get into. It's basically for me, I feel like if you value, right, because you're saying you value rights, and I don't think you would value your right to own an apple over somebody's right to not be killed.
Okay, so the contradiction is what?
Therefore, if somebody steals an apple from you, you would not kill them.
So the contradiction is what?
I'm not saying it's a contradiction. I'm saying that this is at least a logical.
How is it logically impossible?
Maybe it's not logically impossible, but it's not logically.
So then, but that's what we were. Wait. Okay, wait. Not logically. What?
Audrey, please just let me talk.
I just want to know. Look, stop. Look, I've actually been pretty patient with you for someone who's operating in the way you're operating. But look, when you say it's logically impossible, so you're saying it's not logically impossible. Is that correct? Is it logically possible or logically impossible? Which one are you saying?
Well, I guess it's not a contradiction, but would you then agree, at least, like, just hear me out. I will agree that it's not a logical impossibility, but would you agree then that this is a fair proposition? You don't want people to die. You feel that it is a rights violation to kill someone. You also feel stealing is a rights violation. However, you don't feel that somebody should be killed for stealing. Would you agree with that statement?
I don't think people. I would prefer people not be killed for stealing especially if alternatives were available. However, what I would say though is that if push came to shove and the only pragmatic way to stop people from stealing was to kill them, then I do think that form of defense would be justifiable.
Stop.
But okay, but so we covered the logical possibility. Do you think it would be a physical? So then you agree it's not logically impossible. Do you think it's physically impossible?
Yeah, no, it is 100% physically impossible.
Okay, so what law of nature is violated?
Okay, so how do you own things?
That's not answering the question. What law of nature is violated?
No, because the question is basically me answering the question. Because if you understand how you own things, then you recognize that it is physically impossible to own things.
So what law of nature is being violated?
You are physically not able to own things. It is a social construct.
Okay,
it is not.
When you say you can't physically own something, you're saying it's physically impossible.
Of course,
which means that there is a violation of a law of nature. If you
is
were
morality subjective?
So what law of nature is being violated?
If it is a physical possibility that you can own things, what is the physical possibility? What law of nature dictates that you can own something?
Okay.
You're framing the question as if I need to explain myself, but you're not realizing that you're making the claim.
What law of nature is being violated? Listen to me. What law? If you want to claim,
I'm not making a claim.
You did. You said
you're making a claim that you could physically own things. That it is possible. You're making an alternative claim. It's a dichotomous claim.
I actually didn't listen. I actually didn't make a claim on that.
So you're agnostic.
I don't know. We'd have to explore the ontology of your question, but you did make a claim. You did. No. You said that it's impossible. It's physically impossible for you
because it's a dichotomous relationship. You either
what law of nature is violated?
No, you have to understand that it is not within the laws of nature that you can personally own something.
What law of nature? Does it violate a law of nature if you own something? Does it violate a law of nature if you own something?
So what? Okay, let me ask you the same question then, Avi. Does it violate a law of nature if you can't own something?
Does it violate a law of nature if you can't own something? I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so you are agnostic on it.
Yeah, I haven't thought. I have to think about that more. I lean toward no. I lean toward I don't think there's any violation of any law if you don't own something. But that doesn't. Yeah, but that wouldn't show that it's impossible.
And again, I added
So what?
context.
Now that I've
It's not
answered your
just about
question,
yes or no.
now that I've answered your question, how about you answer
No,
mine?
I don't think it.
What
I
law
don't
of
think it
nature?
does. But again, so then you agree
What?
that it neither violates the laws of nature if you own something or if you don't own something, which is
Wait,
why I added
what?
the stipulation that you need to have a social construct in
What?
place in order to own things.
Okay. So how about now that I've answered your question, how about you answer mine? What law of nature is violated? Do you or let me ask you this: do you think there is a law of nature that is violated if you own something?
I'm gonna just. I want to say not necessarily, but I would say no because for sure.
Okay, so then it's physical. Then what? So what it means to be physically impossible is to violate a law of nature.
So did I say it's physically impossible to own things? No, I said it's physically
what do you think
impossible
do you think it's physically impossible?
Can you listen to me for a second?
Sorry. Shorthand for without a social contract. Sure. Do you think it's physically impossible to own something without a social contract?
Yes, that's the
Okay,
point.
what law? Okay, do you think that violates the law? Do you think that violates the law of nature?
You just admitted that there's no law of nature.
Do you think
that
that violates?
Okay, so then let me tell you the same statement.
It
is physically possible to own something with a social contract.
Do you think that violates the law of nature to own something without a social contract?
So it is physically possible.
Do you think it violates? Do you think it violates the law of nature to own something without a social construct?
Hold on, let me think for a second. So it is physically possible to own something with a social construct. Is that a coherent statement?
It is physically possible to own something. Yeah, it's a coherent statement. I understand what it means. I don't think it contains any internal contradiction.
So am I violating any laws of nature by owning something with a social construct?
Are you violating any laws of nature by owning something without a social construct? That's the question I'm asking you.
Okay, so then it's logically impossible. It's not physically impossible. It's logically impossible.
Okay. So what contradiction is entailed?
Okay, and that's where maybe it's not logically. Maybe you've created a false dichotomy because I don't know.
Okay, then what other modality? Then what other modality of impossibility is?
I don't know.
Okay, so you're saying it's impossible, and then what do you mean by impossible?
I don't know for certain because this is what I'm trying to
You
explain.
don't know what you mean. It's impossible, but you don't know what you mean by impossible.
You need to establish social constructs in order to own.
So is it impossible?
Okay, maybe it is possible then, I guess. Okay, but like I said, it is okay, so then I guess you've pointed out a contradiction in the way I was wording it. So it is possible to own things with a social construct would be the grammatically correct way, essentially, of phrasing the question. So it is possible to own things with a social construct. Now we're on to the topic.
I asked you if it's possible to own something without a social construct.
Is it possible to own things without a social construct?
Yeah, that was my question all along. Is it impossible?
No.
Is it impossible is the question.
Is it impossible to own things without a social construct? Is that the question?
That's the question.
Repeat on repeat, and this is probably driving multiple people.
Is it impossible? So it doesn't violate, it's not a physical impossibility because it's not violating the laws of nature to own things. Okay, so because it's not like a physical. Okay, so then it would have to be, I guess, logical based on this dichotomy that you've established.
What's the contradiction?
And so there has to be a contradiction. What is the contradiction then? Like, how would I reach a contradiction?
Well, the contradiction takes the form of a proposition and a negation. We went over that last time.
So when you are owning something, again, without a
proposition
okay, that is a logical impossibility then.
Okay,
because
what's the contradiction?
Without a social construct,
the contradiction is what?
Okay, so without a social construct,
what's the first proposition that forms the contradiction?
He's yelling again. So without a social construct, you cannot own things.
Okay, is that the first proposition? So just so I got this right, the first proposition is without a social construct, you can't own things.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's the second proposition that forms the contradiction?
Oh, okay. How about Avi says he owns my chair? You know, a bike. Avi owns a bike. Then,
Okay. Avi
because
says
there
he
is no
owns a bike.
social construct,
Okay,
Avi
so
does not
just to
own a
be
bike.
clear, just to be clear, these are the two propositions that form the contradiction. Premise one, so proposition one is without a social construct, you cannot own things.
Yeah.
Proposition two, Avi says he owns a bike.
I will do it in a minute.
Do you think that's a contradiction?
Yeah, that is a contradiction because you're saying that you own something,
Do you
but
think that
I am not
takes the
respecting
form-
you. We have no social
Do you think that
contract.
takes the form of P and not P?
Okay, Avi, did I not frame it within a syllogism?
Do you think that takes the form of P and not P?
Yes.
You're a fucking idiot.
Okay, Avi, explain to me why I'm an idiot. I do think that.
Because yeah, look, you realize that
I know, I'll take the abuse. He's just upset that he's wrong.
You realize you realize that this is not a contradiction because it doesn't take.
Okay, tell me why it's not a contradiction.
The reason for that is because there are two. The proposition without a social construct, you cannot own things, and the proposition that Avi says he owns a bike can both be true at the same time.
Oh my God, dude! Yeah, he established a false dichotomy.
If both of those propositions can be true at the same time, they're not contradictory.
All right, Avi, then explain to me. Now, you've made a claim. You've made a claim now. You've made a claim now. Defend it. How do you own the bike without the social construct?
I don't need to defend being able to own a bike without a social construct in order to defend that Proposition 1 and Proposition 2 can both be true. Look.
Okay, you just said that they can. Explain how they can.
Let's just say that it is the case that without a social construct, you cannot own things. Let's say premise 1 is true.
Sure.
Can premise 2 also be true? Premise 2 being Avi says he owns a bike. Can that
okay, sure. Avi thinks he owns a bike. Avi believes he owns a bike. Avi wants to own the bike.
So is that a contradiction?
Yeah, yes, that is a contradiction. If there's no social
told me they both can be true.
No, I didn't. You told me that.
Wait,
I've already established that I think
so do you think premise 2 can't be true? Well, if premise 1
Avi thinks he owns a bike?
Avi says the premise 2 is Avi says he owns a bike. Do you think that Avi says he owns a bike?
Sure, I guess based on semantics. So then let me try to put it in words because I guess I'm at a loss for words.
So just so we're clear then, that it's not a contradiction. Agreed?
No, I would say that the whole argument was invalid because I didn't word it correctly.
So just to be clear,
sure, because I didn't word it correctly.
These two propositions that you gave me, signed off on multiple times.
Okay, let me say this much. I will change the wording. Now I got it. Okay. Avi owns a bike. It is impossible to own a bike without a social construct. Avi owns a bike. Therefore,
okay. So just to be clear,
there is a social construct. That is the logical conclusion.
So the contradiction.
It is logically impossible to own a bike without a social construct. Did you hear me? Avi owns a bike.
Is that the first proposition?
First proposition, it is impossible to own things without, can you listen to me? It is impossible to own things without a social construct. Second proposition, Avi owns a bike. Conclusion, there is a social
argument. I'm just asking
which allows Avi to own a bike.
I'm not asking for an argument. I'm just asking for two propositions that form a contradiction.
Again, you're explaining to me.
Is proposition one? It is impossible to own things without a social construct. The first proposition of the propositions that form of the contradiction. Okay, so what's the second proposition?
The second proposition is Avi owns a bike.
Okay, so just to be clear, I'm writing this out.
Sure.
Do you think this is a contradiction? You see in general chat? I wrote it out.
Hold on. Wait, how is this? What are you talking about? So there has to be a conclusion. You're telling me that just two premises have to form a contradiction? How does that
It's two propositions.
Okay, so two propositions. Now, what is the conclusion?
It's not an argument. I'm just asking you if these are I asked you for the two propositions that form a contradiction.
Okay, sure.
Now I'm giving you proposition 1, which you told me. It is impossible to own things without a social construct. Proposition 2, Avi owns a bike. Now you gave me those two. Now I'm asking you, are these the two propositions that form the contradiction?
These are two propositions that create an environment, because the conclusion
would come. That's not. I'm not asking for propositions that create an environment. That's not what I asked you for. So I'll repeat what I've asked you for. What I asked you for is the two propositions that form the contradiction.
Two propositions that form a contradiction, and the original argument was that it's logically impossible to own property without a social construct.
So what are the two propositions that form the contradiction entailed by someone owning something without a social construct? What's the contradiction?
Two propositions that create a contradiction? What do you mean? They can't create a conclusion that's false?
Okay, what it means to be logically impossible is not to have a false premise or a false conclusion. What it means to be logically impossible is that there's a contradiction, which means that there is a proposition and its negation. So what I'm asking you,
I think you've created a false dichotomy then, because you said that there is either a physical impossibility or a logical impossibility. And
I didn't say that was exhaustive. There could be other impossibilities, but I need clarity on what it means.
Well, then I am not an expert in formal logic. So
this
is the argument then. I mean, put forth an argument.
Before we dodge off that route, do you think it's what are the two propositions that form the contradictions? You said it was logically impossible.
Okay, Audrey, chill. But all right, let me say this. Let me say a statement. It is impossible to own property without a social construct. Avi owns a bike. Therefore, there is no social construct. Is that a logical argument?
Therefore, there is a social.
There is no social construct.
It's an argument, but that doesn't answer my question.
All right, I just don't know, Avi, because I really don't know.
So my question is, what contradiction would be entailed? What contradiction would be entailed by someone owning something without a social construct?
It took you 2 minutes.
I think your girlfriend's gonna start going off to Joe Schmo if you're not careful.
So what was? Oof. What is? So you recognize that this is not a dichotomous relationship as you've established it. It's essentially you give me a false.
Again, I'm not seeing how this answers the question either. So I'll repeat the question.
Because the whole question was based on a false dichotomy.
No, it wasn't. I never gave you a false dichotomy. That's not true.
You said I cannot use the word impossible unless there is a logical contradiction or a physical impossibility. That is a false dichotomy.
I actually gave you a third option. You could rewind the recording if you'd like. The third option is something else. However, I would need clarity on what you mean by a third modality. So I'll repeat the question again, since you've claimed it was logically impossible. What propositions form the contradiction by someone owning something without a social?
And I've stated that the proposition one is what you said, that there requires a contradiction, is false.
What's the first proposition that forms? Sorry, what's the first proposition to be? When you say it's logically impossible, that does mean it entails a contradiction. So what's the first proposition that forms the contradiction?
Again, I've stated that you have established a false dichotomy, that it's either logically impossible or physically impossible, that there is no other thing.
I actually haven't, but regardless, you've said it was logically impossible. So what propositions?
Well, that's based on the false dichotomy. Again, remember you were asking.
Well, I actually haven't. It's not.
You're very good at soft.
It's actually not based on a false dichotomy because, again, if you rewind the recording, I've said there could be a third option. However,
So then again, all right, then it's not logically impossible.
Oh, it's not logical. Okay, so when you say impossible, great. Then when you say impossible, what do you mean?
Again, let me frame it. What would you say? This is because I'm not good at formal logic, Avi.
Well, I would say, I mean, look, if you're asking me what I mean by impossible, I really do only use logical or physical impossibilities. I don't use a third, and I don't because I don't really understand what third ones mean. There are some people who try to do it. There could be a third one. However, I'm not really convinced of those third modalities, but I'm open to being convinced. So to answer your question, I use those two. I use logical or physical impossibilities. Now, if you have a third modality, I'm all open to hearing it, because I would like to know what you mean when you say it's impossible.
Okay.
Okay, good. What do you mean when you say it's impossible?
So my preposition is that it is impossible to own property.
Okay, what does impossible mean?
It means that, see, now I'm starting to think that it is a dichotomy, because I can't really think of a third one based on like the options that you've kind of given me, because you're saying, well, if you want to do this logically, then you have to prove a contradiction. So then how about we do this? Let's take away the word impossible, because it's obviously a point of contention to where I'm honestly confused on it. And I think you're either saying like that you can't use that word. And so if I'm confused and you're saying I can't use the word, then let's just not use the word.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not saying you can't use the word. I'm just saying I don't know what you mean when you use that word. I'm not sure what you mean if you're not referring to a logical or physical modality.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. Based on the two options that you've given me, I can't think of something.
I'm not giving you like when you say I've given you two options, I'm not like trying to like pigeonhole you and saying those are the only two options you give me. I'm open. If you have a third option, I'm open to hearing it.
I get you. I get you. That's what I mean. I'm not trying to say that you're trying to pigeonhole me, but like, no, based on the two options that you presented, and I can't think of a third. So I would say that, that we probably should take impossible off the tails. But that doesn't mean, but let me ask you this much. Does impossible mean the same thing as not possible?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the negation of it's the impossible means the same thing as not possible. Yes.
Okay, so then it is possible. Let me put this into an argument. It is possible to own property if there's a social construct. Avi owns a bike. Therefore, there is a social construct. Therefore, if you
wait, let me write this out. The premise one is it is possible to own something if there is a social construct.
Yeah.
Okay. Premise 2.
Avi owns a bike.
Avi owns a bike. I can already tell this is not going to work, but okay, go ahead.
Conclusion: there is a social construct.
Okay. Okay, that's your argument?
Sure. Can you tell me any other ways then how you could own
so this doesn't work
without a social construct?
So this doesn't work.
Why?
Like the reason because it's not valid.
Sure. Tell me why it's not valid.
So, sure. So the argument takes the form of that the reason it's not valid is because you said if and not if and only if. It has an if relation, but not if and only if relation.
Okay, then you have to explain what.
So, like for example, like Isaac's giving a good example here. Like if I said it's possible to walk if Gandalf exists, it's possible to walk, therefore Gandalf exists.
No, I know that. That would be an implicit contradiction because we both know that Gandalf doesn't exist.
No. That's not why it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't. It's not because one of the premises are false. It's just because, look, it could be that there is not a social construct, and that it's possible to own something by some other means. Right?
Bobby, can I ask you a question? Can I make another argument?
I'm trying to explain to you why it doesn't work. Right, you asked me why it doesn't work.
Okay, go ahead.
The reason it doesn't work is because premise 1 is not saying that it's possible to own something if and only if there is a social construct. Right? Premise 1 is just saying it's possible to own something if there is a social construct. Now, that's compatible with owning something.
So then
without there being a social construct.
May I speak then? So
yeah.
If and only if there is a social construct, it is possible to own things.
Okay.
Avi owns a bike.
It is possible to own something if and only if. Okay, and only if. Now where? Yeah.
Okay.
If and only if there is a social
Nice, bro. How many times, man? How many fucking times?
So
wait, is she talking? Is she talking to you or is she talking to me right now? I'm confused.
she asked me how many times am I going to say I'll be on tonight.
Hey,
she hates
I have
this
a question.
stuff.
I have a question for the girlfriend. Would you kill me? Would you kill me to save your boyfriend?
Hey, he asked, would you kill him to save me?
Probably. You're really annoying. No.
Oh.
But you wouldn't kill. But you wouldn't kill Joe Schmo.
Well, not Joe Schmo though. Joe Schmo's a good guy.
He's not doing anything to anybody. Yeah, I wouldn't kill him.
She's saying basically you violated my rights. No, this is all consensual.
What's the rights violation?
Yeah, I know. Right.
Okay, so here's the argument. Okay, so the argument: it is possible to own something if and only if there is a social construct. Premise 2: Avi owns a bike. Conclusion: there is a social. Okay, so that's going to work. But what's the argument for premise 1?
Okay. Well, then I have to go inside a definition.
What's the argument for premise 1?
A social construct is something that exists not in objective reality, but as a result of human interaction. It exists because humans agree that it exists. Therefore, the argument for premise 1 that if and only if a social construct exists, you can own things. The reasoning for that is because all ownership is derived from social constructs.
What's the first premise? What's the first premise of the argument for premise 1?
Let me try to put that in premises then.
Oh my God, you guys need to write all this shit down.
Social constructs exist because humans agree that they exist. Ownership. I'm probably gonna. You're probably gonna say this isn't fully complete yet. Ownership exists.
This shit's being recorded.
Hold
right?
on. Ownership exists because it's a social construct. Therefore, ownerships exist because humans agree that they exist.
Wait, but the conclusion of the argument needs to be premise 1, or else you're not making an argument for premise 1.
Yeah, no, that's. Oh, wait. So what was the? Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. All right. So if and only if a social construct. What? She said sorry. Didn't mean to say.
No, not that. I'm saying
just for being loud. Okay. I don't think he can hear you.
Listen, I can do a little couples therapy on the side if you guys need it.
No, it's fine.
Like we can have a sit down on the couch if you want.
It's mostly that I can perceive stuff, and you guys have been repeating the same thing over and over and over, and I think those people who are hearing me out right now can agree that guys are just how long are you gonna stick with this topic, bro? Because move on, move to a different debate session.
Well, I'll move on when it reaches its conclusion.
All right, same.
Yeah, this is gonna take. You guys aren't gonna get any sleep tonight. I'm just gonna say that, and nobody beyond the recording is gonna get sleep tonight either.
Well, maybe we'd all get some sleep if you'd let us continue without interrupting.
Ooh.
So, all right.
Can't blame that one. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, so if and only if social constructs exist. Well, I kind of already forgot the original premise.
I think couples therapy might be needed after all. But yeah.
So if and only if a social construct exists, there is allowed to be ownership exists or something. Was that the original premise? Correct?
The conclusion is it is possible to own something if and only if there is a social construct.
Okay, so it is possible to own something if and only if there is a social construct.
Yeah. So what are the premises for that argument?
Right.
For that conclusion.
I keep forgetting all the distractions.
Beforehand, and you guys can't even remember.
All right. So if and only it is. All right. So it is possible. Possible to own something.
You guys are badgering at each other if wife and husband for the past hour and a half.
I think she's getting jealous.
Yeah. She's bi, so that's probably why. It is possible to own something if and only if you
hearing it the first time instead of repeating it over and over and over for an hour and a half.
It is possible to own something if and only if you have a social construct in place.
I don't have to write this shit down.
So
I can't use your memory.
social constructs only exist as a result of
Thanks,
human.
he's insulting your memory.
Yeah, I am.
I know, right?
It doesn't
Own.
take 50 fucking years to, perceive.
I wanna slash back, but I'm gonna let it slide. Okay. It exists because humans agree that it exists. Yeah, I want to be like, well, no, but like, let's get it. It exists because humans agree that it exists.
No, I'm not gonna lie, girlfriend. I think he's being the mature one here right now.
He is. Yeah, well, usually I'm the mature one because last night, while you were talking disrespectfully to him, I told him that I didn't appreciate that. So please don't tell my man to shut up. That's why I'm also in the.
It's okay. Debates can get heated.
Mediating the combo right now.
Oh, when I said he was being the mature one, I just meant with the interaction between him and you. I didn't mean between him and me.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, we both can get heated. I understand. All right, hold on. So, it is possible to own something if and only if you have a social construct in place. I mean, we could do a part 2, and I will come back with an argument for this. Right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that would be great.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good way to drop off. So, the ending, the conclusion.
No hard feelings against
Sure.
him.
But just,
so
but
I need
just,
to prove.
but just as the conclusion now, you acknowledge you don't currently have an argument for premise 1.
No, I think I'll need to, because I don't think I could think of it on the fly right now. So I'll do some research. I'll take a bit of time to think of it, and we'll come down to it.
Okay, cool, great. Sounds good. And listen, have a great rest of your night with your lovely girlfriend.
Yeah, you too, Avi. She has one. All right. Do you really want to ask that question?
I have a question. So
yeah, sure. What's up?
It seems like this whole example that you guys are going off on was like super complex to the point where you had to repeat yourself 500 times about it. And my question is, you said you didn't even go back to the stealing question. Is stealing wrong? And I would like to say it's not. In a case of survival mode, if someone is poor or homeless and they need to steal food for survival, that's not wrong at all in my book. So
yeah, we answered the stealing question. I mean, yeah, so I agree. Generally,
I might have not have been in the room when you guys did, but I mean, it would have been super easy to debate
That's
over.
Actually, what the whole point of contention we're at is right now is talking about stealing, because I think it has to do with the ideas of rights.
Well, property, to me, property.
Because we're going to get back into our logical discussion. We have to understand what rights.
I thought it was just an easier example to give you guys, so you wouldn't have rambled for 50 years about it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I didn't mean to call you annoying. I'm just one of those intelligent people that can perceive stuff the first time, and it just annoys me somewhat.
No, I agree with you. I can tell. Like, you are like, no, I can tell. Like, I've come across a lot of people. You are by far one of the most intelligent people I've met in quite a long time.
Oh, thank you. I'm a stranger, but I appreciate that. Thanks. Like, I'm really sorry that I called you annoying. It's just like I'm one of those people that overthink a lot, and when it comes to like debates or any situation, I don't just stop at a certain stopping point. I go further into it. So that's why I was annoyed.
No, I can tell you. No, I like that. That's good. No, you're you grab him by the horns.
Yeah.
Listen, you have a great rest of your night with your lovely boyfriend. All right.
I have one more question. Do you mind if I invite myself on your Ask Yourself Discord?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can join the Discord. No problem.
Awesome, because he made me a Discord earlier, but I didn't know how to look you guys up, so.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure. Like, you.
I think he might be still. I think he's talking to your friend right now through email, like, because he was banned last night. So I don't know if
he's unbanned. He's here now. That's how we're having the conversation.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I'll add you guys then.
All right. Well, thanks for the debate, Avi. You have a good night.
Thank you, and thank your girlfriend as well.
All right, appreciate it.
I wanted to
Adios.
clear up one or two things with you.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, sure.
Oh no, just with Avi, you don't have to hang around.
Okay.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? And technically, you were just unbanned for the debate, so you will have to go through the standard channel there. Okay. Yeah, Avi. So okay, yeah, two things. You don't have to say if the hypothetical.
I know, no, I saw that. Yeah. The reason I was doing that, I know I don't have to say that. The reason I was doing it is because like he's just refusing to.
Matisyahu,
like,
you're popping off. Can you mute your mic if you're hanging around?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I get it. I saw that, and you're correct. I didn't have to do that. The reason I did that, he made the separation between hypotheticals and real world examples such that he'll give like different answers. And one path I can take is to show like a reductio on that. And the other path to show is to just ask the same thing in the real world. Now, I misspoke at one point, and I said that, well, I didn't mention that the hypothetical was the real world, or I said that it was just not in the real world, or something like that. And I was taking that path, and I wanted to just correct the restatement, just say, like, okay, it's real world. That was the route I was taking. I understand that I didn't have to do that. I could have just stuck to hypotheticals, and if he just decides to give different answers, whether it's hypothetical or real world, then I could either do a reductio. That's another pathway.
Well, yeah, so like I could understand there could be psychological reasons to say it, right? If you think that you see what's going on in his head and he's trying to use it not being real somehow as some kind of dodge, and you think you're going to be able to like get around that psychologically, or like I could understand reasoning like that. But yeah, I just wanted to point out, like, kind of like strictly speaking, it's just a non-answer, right? Like I think a lot of people get hung up when someone says, oh, the crazy hypothetical, why should I have to engage with a hypothetical? I blah, blah, blah hypothetical, right? That they have to, like, address those concerns. But I don't understand why, right? Like, any of that is just a non-answer. It's just some given form of a non-answer, right? It's not clear why that would have to be addressed for them to answer, so I just ignore it and just say that's
no, but that's not what he was doing. So he was giving answers if it was hypothetical. He was just giving different answers than if it was the real world.
I just mean, okay, so the situation I'm talking about, because I'm not sure I followed the exact dialogue, is just in a case
I get what you're talking about. I completely understand. It happens a million times.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's not what was happening here.
Okay, well, I'm not... Okay, well, I'm not sure, because, like, what I'm talking about is just any situation where... well, I mean, there's a range of situations, I guess. It could be, like, you ask a question and they respond by saying something like that's a hypothetical. It could be like, you know,
no, I get what you're saying. I get it. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure
what are all non-answers. Yeah. What was happening? So what was happening here is he was answering the question. It's just that he was giving different answers if they were hypothetical versus if they were real world.
Oh, like he was giving. Yeah. Well, then that's not
so.
Even...
Like he would kill one to save all these people, or even a few people in a hypothetical. But if it was real world, he would not.
Yeah. Wait. I don't even know if that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Now, whether that makes sense or not is a whole different question that I didn't want to like go down the rabbit hole of.
Yeah, because
that's what I mean by getting around. Like, I didn't want to have to like deal with all that shit. So I'm just like, okay, it's all real world. Now what?
I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to say a hypothetical is real world. Even I think that might be a contradiction, actually. But it just seems like I mean, I don't even know if there's a need to talk about whether it's hypothetical.
If I just say okay, but sure. But if I don't even need to invoke the word hypothetical. I could just ask, like, if this was the case in the real world, then what followed?
It just seems redundant to say in the real world. Like, what else would you mean by if this is the case?
So then I can just say if this is the case.
Then, so like, what would if they say, if they give some different answer based on it being it's not even clear like they're understanding the question. Like how could there? I don't even understand how. Yeah, so that just doesn't make sense to me. I don't even know what's going on there, frankly. But the point is just like, I wouldn't even fixate. So the first layer of what I want to talk about is just when someone tries to dodge or not answer in some way by saying something like, "Oh, it's hypothetical," blah blah blah. Anything like that, like all that really needs to be done is just say that's a non-answer. I mean, you could have reasons for doing more than that, but
yeah,
I just wanted to point that out so you at least kind of like we agree about what the minimum.
No, we completely agree about that.
Yeah, if on the other hand they're giving different responses based on whether you say what is it based on if you say
whether it's I say this is a hypothetical or whether this is some like abstract hypothetical that gives some answer, and then I say, well, this happened in the real world, then they give a different answer.
Yeah, I guess with that I'm not even clear that there's a difference between saying like here's a hypothetical and what if, like if you say what would you do in this hypothetical or what would you do if this hypothetical were the case, it just seems like I guess I just don't understand how they're different questions. It just seems like when you're giving the hypothetical and say what would you do in it, like doesn't that just mean if this were the case?
Because I'd have to, exactly. Yeah, I know. I'd have to think if there is some sort of weird difference. Like I'm not. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. I get it. I get what you're saying.
I hear Troy saying something also.
Yeah, what's up,
seems the same to me.
It seems the same. But the thing is, like, I'm just explaining to you, I chose not to go down that rabbit hole. Like, I chose not to go down the rabbit hole of art, because just imagine what defending that they're the same thing with a person like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just spent an hour trying to get this guy to explain how it's logically impossible to steal. Like, I mean, of course, that's going to be like. I mean, I guess it was already so disastrous that arguably you like couldn't make it any worse. So maybe... like
I'm faced with like a fork in the road. Like, do I go down that extra rabbit hole, or do I just phrase it in the sense of it being?
I think you might be misunderstanding my intention, though. Like, I'm not saying here's what you should do. I'm just kind of saying like I'm kind of interested in exploring what the most like minimal response is, right? Like, because I'm all about minimalism and like concision. I mean, maybe I'm just saying the same thing twice there, but I'm all about just getting it as stream. Sorry, what?
Isn't that kind of ironic?
It is, but I felt like rambling further about it while saying it would just add to the irony, so I had to just cut my losses. Yeah, okay, so I think we agree about all that. So that, I mean, it's not actually clear. So it's not actually clear that they're even saying anything different. If they're giving different answers when you say, what would you do in this hypothetical, or what would you do if this hypothetical were real? I think my initial impulse with that was actually the right thing, which is just, it's not even clear how those are different questions. So unless they can somehow differentiate them, they're just contradicting themselves if they give different answers.
Yeah.
And then there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, which is when someone Molyneux's on you. And I guess for anyone who's not been like in here for a while, Molyneuxing, that's a term that we created after I debated Stefan Molyneux, because we needed like a way to refer to this. And it's a really common thing that everyone will have witnessed a ton of times. But you give someone a hypothetical, right? And their answer, okay, so they've said some shit, right? You give them a hypothetical, their answer to which, based on what they've said already in the conversation, is going to make them look like a lunatic, right? Like in the Molyneux debate, he had said some shit that led to like it would be okay to just like Holocaust everyone if their genes were like altered a bit. It was like one of these kind of things, right? So they've said some shit, you give a hypothetical. If they respond to that hypothetical, they look like a lunatic. So what they try to do is add on to the hypothetical so that it looks less crazy when they bite the bullet. And like, here's what I think the dynamics of this situation really are. It's like very, very hard. Like I don't even know how you would do this, but it's very hard to give a hypothetical that refers just to one situation. Like you're almost always going to be kind of quantifying over a range of situations because you don't give enough information in the hypothetical to like, you know, disambiguate or to make it. Yeah, to make it clear which case. So let me just give an example. Like, if I say, like, say you're walking to school tomorrow and you see a bus hit someone, what would you do? It's like there's all these other unaccounted for things. Like, you know, some guy, like, 5 miles away, like, is he, like, walking down the street or is he eating a lollipop? Like, it's just not something you've specified in your hypothetical. So your hypothetical is kind of like quantifying over both of those situations. It's almost like you're posing them a question with like a range of situations, and you're kind of expecting that they'll be able to latch on to like the core features of it and give a response to that, right? Do you understand what I'm saying so far, or does that sound like a fuzzy?
Oh, I completely understand what you're saying. That's why I said to him at one point in the debate, like, if something's not entailed by the hypothetical, just don't add it.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to clarify some more about this. So yeah, so Molyneuxing is going to be where you add something into the hypothetical that's not entailed in order to make the bullet bite seem less bad, right? So you might, if someone said some shit that would lead to like them, you know, like stabbing a granny if they saw her like walking across the street or something. It's like, okay, so they've said some shit. You say, all right, there's a granny walking across the street. You won't run into her. You would be committed to stabbing her, right? They would try to talk, since you're actually talking about a range of situations there, because there's a bunch of shit that's like ambiguous in your question, they're going to focus on this like proper subset of the situations you could be talking about, where it seems not crazy to say, yeah, stab the granny. Like, well, I mean, if she was attacking me, right? Like, we all see this in vegan debates all the time, right? Like, well, what if the animal was trying to kill me? Or, you know, what if someone would like die if I didn't do this thing? So I think that the right response to that is actually not to get into this kind of haggling with the other person over which things are like included or not, and then adding more and more and more conditions to your hypothetical for like at least two reasons. Like, A, it just gets harder to manage, right? You're like adding more and more and more shit to keep track of, and that's going to be harder to deal with. And you're kind of liable to like fuck up just because of how much random shit you've like added into your hypothetical. And we all know how the internet goes. Later, people will like comb over the video, or the person will try to do a response, and they'll like find this like obscure thing that worked its way in because you had to account for all this other shit. So that's one reason it's bad. It's just hard to account for. And then another is that it's like optically kind of bad if you care about such things, right? I don't care much about such things, but you know, the reason that I think it's kind of a bit optically bad is because it looks like they're raising like legitimate problems with the situation you're giving, and you're having to keep adjusting to deal with them. So like what it kind of, if they do that like 5 times in a row, it kind of has the feel of like, you gave this problematic hypothetical and they raised all these issues and showed all these problems with it, and then finally you managed to like dial it in or whatever. So for both those reasons, keeping track of shit and just that optical reason if you care about that shit, I wouldn't respond by haggling with them over what shit you want to include in the hypothetical. I'd just point out whenever they try to add something that your situation didn't specify that, so you're quantifying over the situation where that thing is the case and
exactly.
Not the case.
No, I get that. Yeah, I get that. I at one point, like, I think I haggled once and then or twice, and then after that I just said, listen, if it's not dialed in, if it's not specified, just don't add it.
Yeah, and by don't add it, what we mean is we're looking for your answer to both those situations. And they could say, I actually don't have just one answer because there's some feature that like my answer depends on. If it's present, I'll give this answer. If it's not, then I won't, right? But yeah, so what, just to be specific, when we say like don't include that, we're just saying I'm giving you a hypothetical that quantifies over both situations. If we want to be like kind of technical about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, all right. I think that was all that I wanted to say. And in case it's not obvious, I don't think any of these things are problems. Like, that was obviously just a total beatdown, and that guy's kind of crazy. He seems nice, but he's kind of crazy. But I just thought these things are worth mentioning because I'm always in pursuit of like the cleanest debate method.
Yeah, for sure, it was fun.
Okay.
I like his girlfriend. His girlfriend's nice.
Yeah, she liked you too once you said she's smart. Yeah. That was an immediate change of how
180.
she was acting to you. Yeah. Okay. All right. I gotta go. I shouldn't have gotten distracted this long. All right. Good debate though.